Vic at BetUS.com. Catch an incredible 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits, plus 10% gambler's insurance. BetUS, my online sportsbook and casino.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to a Tuesday edition of Birds 365. It is game week, everybody. It is officially game week, just 3 days away until our Philadelphia Eagles kick off in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Johnny Mac, good Tuesday to you, man. How you doing on this Tuesday morning?
Good. I hope everybody had a nice Labor Day weekend, and here we go. Typically, you're ramping up for a Sunday game, but it'll be here before you know it. Friday night, Sao Paulo, Brazil, amongst 21 million people in the area. So if you're going, good luck.
Anybody in our chat going? I'd love to see if anybody's in the going. I know we had the one guy last week who's down there. He'll be there. So looking forward. If you guys are going to that Brazil game, definitely drop us a comment. I'll respond to all comments now and after the show for those who are going down to Brazil. I want to welcome everybody in this morning, man. It's a big week here, not only on JAKIB Sports, but all over Philadelphia and the NFL world. But we're Philly fans, so we're looking for the Eagles game. So it's big, man. We waited all off season. We did shows all off season, and now it's officially here. The Philadelphia Eagles will take on the Green Bay Packers in Sao Paulo just 3 days from now. So good stuff there. Johnny Mac, man, you were down there this weekend. We'll have Jeff Kerr, by the way, later on in the show today. But you were down there this weekend. What did you learn? What came out of the practices and what you got to talk to the coaches and players about this weekend as we head into Sao Paulo on Friday?
Yeah, I think the most notable thing is there's so much emphasis on the trip. I think, that's been a little bit taken away from the football aspect of it. I think, Nick didn't get one question about the Packers the last time we talked to him. A little bit yesterday with Vic Fangio and Kellen Moore. Vic Fangio had a great quote about the Packers offense, calling them an all-day sucker. So get ready for an explosive offense, a very diverse offense that can beat you in a number of ways. And the locker rooms were open for the first time this year. So that's always a big day for reporters. And whether fans know it or not, it should be a big day for them because you're capable of getting a lot more information when that happens. So that's a big day of the NFL season, and that came over the weekend. As far as individual players, talked about Bryce Huff being in the crosshairs of Vic Fangio back in the spring and the summer, and him being very honest about him. Cooper DeJean was the one taking the shrapnel this week and, basically saying he's doing a good job. With that said, he's not ready. Sort of the old backhanded compliment by Vic. And
Vic loves a backhanded compliment, Johnny.
He does.
Yeah.
He really does. And I don't think he looks at it that way. He's just like, again, he's very honest and he gives his opinion in the moment. And I'm trying to get the exact quote. I think he's as prepared as he can be, but having said that, not where he needs to be is the exact quote. And then all of a sudden we go out to the limited portion of practice we get to see on Monday. I got to figure out what day it is. Monday. So yesterday. And all of a sudden Jahan Dotson is taking the backup punt return reps. And what does that mean? Well, doesn't mean much as far as Britton Covey's the punt returner, but that had been Cooper DeJean's role when he got healthy. So that's an indication perhaps that he's not even going to be active in Sao Paulo, which I think would upset some people. But they shouldn't be. I mean, you're trying to win a football game, and I think Jeremiah Trotter Jr. might not be active because now you have Warren Burks back and you have Ben Van Sumeren. And those are better special teams players. So, again, you're trying to cobble together the group that can win the football game. So, be prepared for little things like that.
No doubt about it, John. What do you know about this Packers team, John, as we prepare to go down there? I know Vic, as you mentioned, he mentioned that high-powered offense. They can beat you in a lot of different ways. Jordan Love, I mean, last year was his first year starting. He looked like a stud last year. Now, let's see if he can do it again. But, I mean, I think he had 42 or 43 on the passing yards, 30-plus touchdowns, only 10 or 11 interceptions. The guy had a hell of a year. What do you expect from this team? This is going to be a tough test in opening week 1 here, Johnny Mac.
Yeah, it is. And they have a lot of playmakers, not, very similar to the Eagles, but maybe not as well known because some of they have a bunch of young receivers that can make plays, but aren't really high profile guys yet. Probably the best, but he's always hurt, is Christian Watson. He's a size, speed, physical freak guy, but he's always hurt. Problem is he's healthy early in the season. But you have guys like Romeo Dobbs and Jaden Reed and Dontavian Wicks and Bo Melton. They can all make plays. They're very deep at receiver. They got 2 tight ends they want to use, and Luke Musgrave and Tucker Kraft. Vic gave me a shot yesterday. I said, does it help to know that they're going to play more 11 personnel? And he said, well, they play 12 because they're 2 tight ends about 50% of the time, at least on early downs. So Vic gave me the clap back. But at the same time, Vic, you said you're going to play nickel most of the game. So why are you playing nickel if there's 2 tight ends out there? So I think I caught Vic in something, but that's me. That's but yeah, they got, and Josh Jacobs, I think they got worse at running back. They lost Aaron Jones. I think that's a mistake because Aaron
you
Jones
consistently said that. You love
Yeah.
Aaron Jones, yeah.
And because he fits their offense so well,
I
because
know,
he's the great receiver that everybody likes to talk about here in Philadelphia, but doesn't exist. He's the great receiver that can do some things down the field. Josh Jacobs is a good running back. 2 years ago, he had like 1,600 yards, but that's another part of the problem.
Yeah.
He was way down last year because he had so many touches the year prior. So I think he might be one of those big names in the descent. And I think they actually got a little bit worse. And he's not going to be nearly as impactful in the run and the passing game as Aaron Jones was. So I think that's a little bit of a step back. Their offensive line isn't as good as usual. If you think back to the days of David Bakhtiari being an all-pro season after season. Andre Dillard's there, by the way. He's a backup, but he's there with the Packers. I think it's funny because the Eagles won't admit who their right guard is, and the Packers won't admit who their right guard is, which is, to me, is funny because
it's like the right guard games.
Yeah. It's like, are you worried about the wildfires in Brazil, the political climate, trying to squash free speech? No, the right guards. Everybody needs the competitive advantage for the right guards. So that would be Jordan Morgan or Sean Ryan. And by the way, that's big because Jalen Carter should be able to beat the you-know-what off those whomever starts. And that, to me, is where the Eagles are going to have to win the game if they win the game, because they got to affect the quarterback. Defensively, it's a change. They played for many years poorly, the Vic Fangio scheme, and now they're shifting to something different defensively. So there's a lot unknown. They got some talent up front. Kenny Clark is probably one of the most underrated players in the NFL. They got 2 good edge rushers, Rashawn Gary and Preston Smith. But I never tend to worry. I think the Eagles have the matchup advantage there because of their offensive line. Their linebackers are terrible, very similar to Eric Wilson is starting for them. Eric Wilson from Philadelphia is starting for them.
He had a short stint here in Philly.
So Eagles need to take advantage of that, and they got some talent in the secondary though. Xavier McKinney they signed. That's a player the Eagles really
Yeah.
wanted.
Yeah, a
Really
lot of
wanted.
fans want. Yeah, there's big talk about him in the
Yeah, but
offseason.
not fan related. They wanted him. I and it,
He got a big contract there,
yeah, he got
John. Yeah.
that was the Eagles' first sort of swing at safety. That's who they wanted to come in. Then they shifted to bringing C.J. Gardner Johnson back. But he's a good player. Jair Alexander is one of the best press corners in the NFL. Eric Stokes has got some talent. So, and then if we want to go really deep, the Eagles should have a big advantage at kicker if it comes down to that. The Packers weren't happy with Anders Carlson, who was Daniel Carlson's brother, and they brought in a new kicker off the street. I'd have to look for his name. So, no experience there. On the other hand, they have one of the few kick returners that's probably better than Britton Covey from a punt return, and he does both punt return, kick returns, Keyshawn Nixon. So he could be a bit of an issue on special teams.
No doubt, man. They got a good squad, so it'll be interesting. I'm interested to see Vic Fangio's approach to slowing down this offense, and then also on the inverse, I'm excited to see how Kellen Moore attacks this team, how quickly he ramps up this offense, and what it looks like with Saquon and all those other guys. But going to be a great game on Friday night. Interesting, John. Friday night, right? Like the NFL, you get ready for the NFL. Normally it's Thursday and it's Sunday. Now we got Thursday, we got Friday, we got Sunday, we got Monday. It's like the NFL is the takeover for the full week is underway.
Yeah, I don't like it. Although, locally here in the Philadelphia area, it was cool this morning. So it gets you a little bit into finally a little bit. So a football feel. But Friday night, man, not a big fan. Friday night football.
Yeah, definitely a little brisker weather this morning. At least when I was out on my walk this morning, it was a little brisk out there. I said, it's football time, baby. A little brisk. So that was good stuff. John, the Eagles were putting out some fires this weekend that I don't think they were expecting to put out with political ads. And you talked about the political stuff in Brazil, a lot of politics seeping into the NFL. The Eagles had to dismiss an ad for in the presidential election in the USA, and they dismissed that it wasn't affiliated with them, despite the ad insinuating it was. That was a little interesting. I guess the Eagles PR team wasn't ready for that this weekend, were they?
No, they were surprised and quickly issued a statement.
Yeah,
it is a counterfeit for those who've seen it. It's basically the official candidate of the Philadelphia Eagles.
yeah,
It
which is what
not,
most sponsors use if they're the official, like the law firm or the official band. Yeah, so
it is not. And they're working to take them down, but the damage is done. I would say, look, anybody who knows anything about Philadelphia. Democrats are winning Philadelphia anyway, so I don't know why they're wasting their time. But so it's one of those things where it's untoward from the Eagles' perspective. Now, Jeffrey Lurie is, publicly, shall I say, positive towards what would typically be referred to as Democrat policies. But, he's also a businessman, and he's not going to do something that dumb to upset, especially in this climate, to upset basically half of the voting public. So if you do see it, and the city seems to be very slow in taking the stuff down, it's not from the Eagles.
no doubt, John. Let's get back into the game here. I want to ask, what's your most anticipated matchup in this game? I think a lot of people are talking about that deep wide receiver group that you alluded to early in the show versus the Eagles' kind of revamped or reworked secondary. There's talk about the run defense, how they're going to slow down Josh Jacobs and some of their backs there. But anything that sticks out to you in terms of matchups in this game? For the Eagles versus the Packers?
Well, I'm very interested to see Quinyon Mitchell, and Vic spoke glowingly
Yes, he
of
did.
Quinyon Mitchell, and he's going to play every snap. Unless he gets banged up, he's going to be out there, whether there's three corners or two. And he mentioned the 12 personnel. In theory, there would be less corners on the field in that type of circumstance. I think, you go into this game, as I mentioned, if you look at Josh Jacobs, 1,653 yards in 2022, 4.9 yards per carry, 12 touchdowns, 300, almost 393 touches in 2022. And he comes back last year, 3.5 yards per carry. And, so I'm kind of, at least if I'm Vic Fangio, I'm coming into this game and I'm not as concerned with the rushing attack versus the passing attack. So, he mentioned, which I'm surprised, but Vic is very, very honest. He was talking about backup nose tackle, and he mentioned Thomas Booker, which I kind of alluded to in my 5 personnel predictions on Sports Illustrated. He's going to be the backup nose tackle. But when he mentioned that, I'm sure we'll be playing a lot of nickel in this game too. I was surprised he admitted that. So there will only be 2 defensive linemen in there at that time. Now, from what that means, don't get excited. In his vernacular, 2 defensive linemen means interior defensive linemen versus edge rushers. So you're going to have 2 edge rushers, 2 interior defensive linemen. He said, hopefully the flow of the game will take care of that. So to me, that says he knows Green Bay's coming after him with those receivers. And that's what I would project. I mean, in theory, if you see the Eagles defense coming off last year, and it's obviously a different defensive coordinator, they've added significant talent, but they're playing the same scheme at least. So you're going to try to take advantage of the linebackers in the middle of the field. You're going to try to take advantage of very young corners. I mentioned a bunch of guys who can make plays. So I think that's the biggest concern would be those receivers. And to a certain degree, they have 2 good tight ends who can take advantage of those linebackers as well.
No doubt. John, what about the Eagles offense and their approach to this game? Packers had that new defensive coordinator, Jeff Hafley. I think I remember early in the offseason, you spoke about how you weren't a huge fan of the hire, but Eagles have a new offensive coordinator. They have a new defensive coordinator and Jeff Hafley. Eagles got Kellen Moore. What's the offensive approach coming into this game for Kellen?
Yeah, it was funny because Vic was talking about, they have tons of film on him because of his history and how long he's been around. And they have tons of offense on how the Packers offense operates, tons of film on how the Packers offense operates. The other side is completely new from the Packers' perspective. Kellen Moore coming in. Now, you do have that same type of film because he's been around a while, but you're not relying on what the Eagles have done in the past like the Eagles can do with the Packers' offense. But Kellen Moore can't rely on what Green Bay has done on the past defensively. Now, yeah, I thought Hafley was a weird hire, but they had to get away from what they were doing defensively. And they were playing the Fangio scheme similar to the way the Eagles played it last year, and it was bad. So they had to get away from that. They didn't have the personnel to play it. And I think they're better equipped to run what they're going to do, which would be a more traditional defense. 4 defensive front people, 2 linebackers, nickel, 80% of the time. That's what they're going to do. And they're good up front. And as I mentioned, they have some talent and playmakers in the secondary. But boy, you got to take advantage of Eric Wilson and Quay Walker. If I'm the Eagles,
Right.
I'm attacking them, and they should know to attack Eric Wilson.
Eagles should know that better than anybody else to go for that guy. So almost a similar thing where you could expect maybe the Packers will target the Eagles linebackers a little bit. Well, the Eagles should go right back at them. So it will be interesting to see how the Eagles approach this game, both offensively and defensively. We'll add another voice to the show now, and Jeff Kerr, who will give us his breakdown, his preview of the game. Before I do that, I want to welcome and thank everybody for being here. Already a big crowd this morning. It's game week, everybody, and it feels like it in the chat. I see some people bickering with 49ers fans already. Everybody's jacked up for game week all across the NFL world, especially here in Philadelphia. So great stuff about that. Before I get to our commercial break and get Jeff Kerr up, I want to tell everybody about our newest sponsor, BetUS, leading into the football season. Are you looking for a new sports book this football season? BetUS is the answer, and JAKIB Sports is proud to announce our new partnership for the upcoming season. Right now, everybody, go to betus.com.pa. That link is down in the description right below the video. So if you're on the video, click that description. The BetUS link is the first thing in the description. Receive a 125% sign-up bonus up to $2,000 on your first 3 deposits. If it's good for former Birds quarterback Michael Vick, it's definitely good for Birds 365 and JAKIB Sports' fans. You can live wager on all the major games. We can take these Saquon Barkley prop bets for those who are members and are looking forward to our Saquon Barkley jersey giveaway. They have the fastest payouts in the industry, and they have 24/7 personalized customer service, so you'll get your own account manager on BetUS. So thanks to BetUS. Go to the link in the description below to become a member today. We'll be right back here on Birds 365 with Jeff Kerr.
Michael Vick at BetUS.com. Catch an incredible 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits, plus 10% gambler's insurance. BetUS, my online sportsbook and casino.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
He's blocked well and tries to cut through the middle.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on Sports Grid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on Sports Grid.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
as long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
Heading down the shore, have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood day.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
Imagine for a moment that you went to work today, and when you came home, you were catastrophically injured. Your life and your family's life. That's what happened to union construction worker Mike Little.
I was scared of what the end was going to be, but to be 100% honest with you, I knew I was going to be all right just by talking with Brian. In my heart, I just knew everything was going to be all right.
Call the firm and find out why they say, "We got this." Call 215-458-2222.
Michael Vick at BetUS.com. Catch an incredible 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits, plus 10% gambler's insurance. BetUS, my online sportsbook and casino.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome back in, everybody, to Birds 365, a Tuesday edition of Birds 365. It is game week here. Jeff Kerr now joins the show from CBS Sports. Jeff, it's game week, man. We've been doing this all off season. Good to finally have football on our radar. How you doing on this Tuesday morning, brother?
It's game week. For me, it's 2 days till one of the games I'm looking forward to, which means nothing for this show, but Ravens Chiefs. And
It's going to be a hell of a game, Jeff.
yeah, exactly. And you know what? It was funny. So I don't watch a lot of the national shows, but before I came on here, I happened to somehow tune in to Get Up. I guess ESPN was the last thing on my TV last night. And Andrew Hawkins said the greatest thing I think I've ever heard. What is a win mean for Lamar Jackson over Patrick Mahomes? And he just goes absolutely nothing and just stops. I'm like, that's the greatest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah,
Well,
what
he's
is
right,
it? What
yeah.
about? Well, he's right. I mean,
Yeah, he is right.
I mean, all games are important in the NFL because there's so few of them. But I mean, at the end of the day, Lamar's done everything he needs to do in the regular season. He's just got to perform in the playoffs and get the Ravens over the hump. He's a 2-time MVP.
Yeah, exactly.
Who cares?
It feels like the Ravens, the Eagles, the Bills, the Bengals, they're in that category where they're good enough to win the Super Bowl. They just got to do it, and that's going to be their what's the word I'm looking for here, John? Their deterrent if they don't do it.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, it is kind of Super Bowl or bust, which is always unfair to a certain number of teams, Kansas City being most notably. I mean, it's to expect anybody to win the Super Bowl on any year is probably a little bit too much, more understandable for Kansas City than anybody else. But look, that's what you shoot for, to have an opportunity. And I think that's what the Eagles have. So, you know, on the field, I think it all, and we always, I hope people know the caveat is always health, but you always have to remind people because injuries can derail anyone at the wrong position. But if everything goes relatively well from an attrition standpoint on the field, the Eagles look like they should be a significant contender. However, off the field, a lot of moving parts, a lot of things we have to see how everything fits together. Has everybody kind of forgotten that as we get closer to Friday night?
I think so. So I had to do it's not my specific preview, but I round up all the guys at CBS Sports and we do NFC preview editions. And I feel like Eagles fans could be in for a reality check with what they're picking compared to maybe what you and I see every day, John. And a lot of them mentioned the off-field stuff. You know, Nick Sirianni kind of competing for his job here a bit. You know, they delegated that. Mike Sealski wrote a really good column in the Inquirer about that today. You know, how will Kellen Moore work? Is this defense any better with Vic Fangio? Can you trust 2 rookie cornerbacks? You know, is the pass rush good enough? Is the Jason Kelce Fletcher Cox effect real? I mean, we're going to find out. Maybe not Friday, but we're definitely going to find out this first month of the season.
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, the Kelce stuff, because of what Jalen recently said, and he got asked about it over the weekend to explain what he said on WIP. But are people starting to think that Jason Kelce was a problem? Because he was not a problem.
Not even in the slightest. You know, it's kind of funny how that became. I mean, was Fletcher Cox a problem? I don't think so.
No.
But I mean, if the problems on this team, you know, if we want to really be specific on here, we're not Jason Kelce and Fletcher Cox. But, you know, it was. I still can't explain last year, and I've talked to at least 15 different players about last year.
They can't explain it. That's why you can't explain it, because the organization can't explain it. The players can't explain it. And then there's the fact that, you know, it's difficult to point out some of the issues. Lane Johnson, I was talking to Lane in the locker room the other day, and I think a lot of people, because I got a lot of, I don't know if you've got this yet, but the Eagles picked up Jahan Dotson. So they have so many playmakers now, you can't blitz them. And I'm like, they're going to get blitzed. They're going to get blitzed. And Lane, I'm glad Lane, very honest, as you know, he's like, until we prove we can stop it, they're going to blitz from the buses, because they couldn't handle it last year, and that's what's coming. And Lane knows it. The Eagles know it. Everybody knows it, and we're going to see. We're going to see. That's why Kellen Moore's here, to be honest.
You know what, John? That's why Saquon Barkley's here. He's a really good pass protecting running back, and you pay him a lot of money to do other things, but that's part of the package. And Saquon has openly admitted he's gotten so much better at that, and people around the league have said, "Hey, this ain't the Saquon Barkley that pass protected his first couple of years in the league." It's something you're not going to notice, but you will notice when Jalen flicks that ball and AJ Brown's wide open across the middle of the field.
Yeah, and to the Kellen Moore effect is, I think a lot of people focus on the motion and the play design. He's here to teach Jalen Hurts how to handle the blitz. That's job description number one. All the other stuff is window dressing. And can he do it? And we're going to see, and we're going to see early probably, even though Green Bay is not there's a lot of uncertainty, but they're not expected to be a huge blitzing team. So if you think about the Giants with Wink Martindale, if you think about the Vikings with Brian Flores, they're not to that level. Todd Bowles with Tampa Bay, they're not to that level. But I think they're going to up it and try to get, guys like Preston Smith loose by throwing some looks. But we don't know a lot about Jeff Hadley. So uncertainty is what Kellen Moore described it as, when you're talking about the Packers defense versus the Eagles offense. Defensively, Vic was like, well, they know what we're going to do. We know what they're going to do. Who's got the advantage there?
I would say the Eagles week one, honestly. I really feel this is going to be a shootout of sorts, just because, look, and I'll say I won't say the name, but I'll just say what one of my CBS Sports coworkers said about the Packers. You're taking a big swing here going with Jeff Hadley, a college coach, to be your defensive coordinator. And
I don't like it.
Yeah. And we've seen this doesn't work. And you're going up against Kellen Moore, who's one of the more respected offensive coordinators in the league. With that personnel, Packers fans may be, there's no bridge in Green Bay, but they may be jumping off the top of Lambeau Field.
Well, the only thing I would say, Jeff, is they for years ran the Fangio scheme, and it was a disaster with Joe Barry. That was like Ed Donatel, Big Fangio scheme. Not the same thing. So they had to change. It's similar to here. It can't be worse. So I look at it from that perspective. It's got to be a little bit better. But then I look at they're rolling Eric Wilson out there as middle linebacker. I don't think that's going to be possible.
I like Eric Stokes as a player, but you can pick on him too at cornerback.
Well, you better, because Jair Alexander's on the other side until he gets hurt, which might be.
And also, they got two new safeties too, and I guarantee you, Saquon Barkley is giving the Eagles every tip how to kind of take Xavier McKinney out of the game.
Well, the Eagles know everything about Xavier McKinney. The Eagles wanted Xavier McKinney badly. They want him, and they just got priced out of the market. Green Bay went way. They paid him a lot of money. I forget the exact contract. The Eagles really wanted Xavier.
Did he get $17 million a year? I think that sounds
right. Somewhere in that range, yeah. And that was a little bit too steep, but they really wanted him. They love him as a player. And they know everything about Xavier McKinney. I'm not worried about that as far as, from playing him so much, from valuing him so much and trying to get him here. I'm worried about him. He's a good player.
He's a really good player. But you know what? Javon Bullard's a good player. They've improved at safety tremendously, but how is this going to work in game one?
Yeah, it's got to be better. It's got to be better than Joe Barry. I said the same thing with the Eagles defense, right? They were so bad last year. It's got to be better. And Vic's going to, I've said it pretty consistently. Zander knows they're going to be middle of the road. I think the floor, 16, 18, somewhere in that range, which I think is all you need. If the Eagles offense lives up to expectations,
But
I don't know. I get what you're saying. I agree. I would not have hired Halfley, but he's got to be better than Joe Barry. He's got to be better.
Yeah,
he can't be worse.
It's a low bar, right? It's just kind of like
Yeah.
the Eagles were. I know you got Vic Fangio, the architect here, but anybody you would have hired would have been better than the situation they had last year.
Yeah, no doubt. Jeff, what's your favorite matchup coming into this game from, Packers versus Eagles? Is it that, deep Packers wide receiver group versus the new secondary? Is it Kellen Moore versus Jeff Halfley and the Eagles offense versus those guys? What are you looking at as a good battle, a good position battle here in the game?
Oh, I don't know, good position battle, but I do know a mismatch. And John mentioned it already. Target Eric Wilson as much as you can.
Yeah, he's starting over. Who's the guy that everybody wanted the
Edgerrin
Eagles to
Cooper.
draft? Edgerrin Cooper.
Yeah, I don't get it because I love the Edgerrin Cooper pick. Oh, by the way, Zander, the Packers don't know who their right guard's going to be. They might rotate guards. I'm like,
they know. They know. They're
I
just
know.
like the Eagles.
Yeah.
They're nonsense. I joked about that in the opening, Jeff. It's like, well, you got to worry about the wildfires. You got to worry about the political climate in Brazil, but nobody knows the right guards on either team. We know who the right guard. The right guard's Mekhi Becton, Nick Sirianni. Just freaking admit it. And the Packers.
He's with the first team all the time.
Yeah. It's so absurd, the competitive advantage nonsense. And the Packer, Matt LaFleur knows who his right guard is. And nobody cares.
Yeah, whoever it is, got to block
Yeah,
Jalen Carter.
get ready to block Jalen Carter. Doesn't matter who it is.
Yeah. But by the way, that's if I have to make a pick for Friday night, like if I not even a prediction, I think Friday night could be a night Jalen Carter gets multiple sacks. I think he's going to make a statement on Friday.
Well, he's a great player. It's just a matter of how great, and how much can he play, and is the 50th snap going to be as good as the first 5? That part of it's real. That's the only thing I'm worried about with Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, and it's been talked about all off season. Can they play as much as they need to play?
Doesn't it feel like we're going to see a lot of Thomas Booker on Friday, or at least some of Thomas Booker?
Well, he's going to be the 4th defensive tackle. I predicted that, by the way. I'm going to pat myself on the back because he can play nose tackle. But Vic also said, if you go back to Vic's quote, he's like, I think we're going to be a nickel most of the time. So I don't know if he's going to play a lot, but he's going to be the guy. So Vic kind of contradicted himself because he corrected me when I said 11 personnel. The Packers are going to play a lot of 11. And he said they play 12, about 50-50 on early downs. But earlier when he was talking about Booker, he said, but the game will take care of that because we're going to be a nickel a lot. So which is it? Are they going to be a nickel with 2 tight ends? Because that's not going to work out well for the Eagles.
No, and they have 2 tight ends that are
they have 2 good
football
ones.
players.
Yeah, they have 2 good ones. So I get his perspective. They have 2 good tight ends, but they got like 5 guys who can make plays at receiver. They're crazy deep at receiver.
They're crazy young there too. It's their 4th receiver could be a number 2 receiver on a lot of football teams.
Yeah, and they're not big names, but
they're big players.
Yeah, they're all good. They can all make plays. I'm interested to see how Quinyon Mitchell and Isaiah Rodgers hold up against that group. and you might have some problems, at least early on. I think it's got to be about the Eagles' pass rush because the Packers' offensive line is not as good as it typically is.
They don't have David Bakhtiari anymore. Rasheed Walker's the left tackle now.
Yeah, that's not good.
Elton Jenkins back
he's
at guards
okay.
can help them. Yeah,
he's a good player.
Yeah, but they don't have Runyon either. He's gone.
No, he's gone. Zach Tom, the right tackle's
Zach
okay.
Tom, he's
okay.
fine. Yeah,
I'm
he's
not
no
a big
Lane
Josh
Johnson.
Myers guy. He's their center. And then Jordan Morgan and Sean Ryan are the right guards, and they're doesn't matter who it is.
You know what, John? Like a lot of people thought I was like doing the haterade thing because the Eagles play the Packers this week, and they were my pick for most overrated team. But like I said, we talk about all these guys and everything, but is Jordan Love going to be upright the whole season?
Well, and that's my second part. I think you do have. I've seen a lot of young quarterbacks who have some early success and kind of think they have it figured out. And the NFL, the old adage is it's a copycat league, and it is, but it's a slow-moving copycat league. So everybody who's on Green Bay's schedule has spent all off-season looking at what made Jordan Love effective. You saw it with Jalen Hurts during his breakout year. And then everybody came back and did some things differently, and it became more difficult. I think you're going to see the same thing with Jordan Love. How does he handle that?
I always like to dig into the history books here because they're hyping up that 8-game stretch. Fine. Nick Foles had an 8-game stretch like that. They played him different in 2014. Yeah, the Eagles won games, but Nick Foles wasn't 27-2. Nick Foles anymore.
By the way, my buddy Rob Motti pointed this out since we went down to Nick Foles tangent. Nick Foles loved the fact that Jason Kelce handled protection calls because he didn't want to do it. And that's how he took off. And there's a direct correlation from Nick Foles in Philadelphia versus Nick Foles everywhere else. And that's because he had more responsibility everywhere else and he wasn't good at it. Yeah, and this year was taken off and here in Philadelphia was taken off his plate. Short sample sizes, but obviously Nick is very public about being thrilled that he didn't have to do it here in Philadelphia.
That's what confused me about Jalen's comments about impeding his progress or whatever. I'm like, look, I was always taught if you can have somebody to do something that you don't have to do at a very high level and it helps you, you do it. So I don't.
Well, no, I don't agree with that. I'm not going to go that far. I mean, Nick Foles was honest with himself and said, I'm not good at this. So this guy's great at it. So
Carson wasn't good at it either.
No. Most young quarterbacks are bad at it. Now, you should always be striving to find Peyton Manning.
And we know Jalen does that. If Jalen can figure out how to be the world's perfect quarterback, he's going to find a way to do
it. He wants to do it. He craves it. He's very honest about it, and he wants to do it. Can he do it? We're going to see.
Last time he did it was when he was in Lincoln Riley's system.
But well, come on, no, that nonsense. That's the whole problem. The whole problem with young quarterbacks is they're not taught at the college level to do any of that with any substance. And then they get to the pros and it's very difficult. It's a big learning curve. Right at the same time that you don't have a lot of practice time like you used to have. So it's very limited time. And so most coaches around the league have more towards what the Eagles did, try to take stuff off the quarterback's plate to accentuate what they do well. But there's certain guys, Tom Brady being number one, Peyton Manning. If you find one of those guys, you better ride them.
You're going to win a lot of football games for a lot of years too.
Yeah. And can Jalen wants to be that type of quarterback? Can he get to be that type of quarterback? We're going to see. If not, though, it's not the end of the world because I think Cam Jurgens is very smart, and I think he'll be able to handle it.
I don't think there's going to be that big of a drop off between Jason Kelsey and Cam Jurgens. It's crazy because Jason Kelsey's a Hall of Famer, but everybody says in that locker room, if you talk to them, they believe Cam Jurgens is going to have a monster year.
Yeah, I'm not worried about Cam at all. At all. Zero. Zander knows that. I've been saying that pretty consistently. I don't worry about him at all. That doesn't mean he's going to be an all-pro. That doesn't mean he's going to the Hall of Fame. I just said the Eagles had really good center play before. They're going to have really good center play now.
By the way,
that's how I would describe it.
By the way, John, should we get your reaction on when I talked to the rookies of who won the vote for who's going to be the best rookie this year?
Oh, we were talking about that yesterday. Yeah, and I do not agree with them. First of all, how is it not Quinyon Mitchell?
Well, I don't think they wanted to go easy on. A lot of them did say Quinyon, by the way.
Yeah, I mean it's easy. But they picked Will Shipley, right?
Will Shipley, that was the winner.
First of all, Will's not even going to play. Quinyon's going to play every freaking snap. I mean,
they all love Quinyon, by the way. Every single one of them loves Quinyon.
Yeah. Now, I'll say this: if I tell you Cooper DeJean is probably going to be inactive on Friday night, agree or disagree, and how upset are you?
I'll say inactive, and Vic's Ray's not ready.
Very noticeable that John Dotson was taking backup punt return reps.
Oh, it was very noticeable there. He was with Britain. And by the way, Quinyon gave me the best answer on why he thinks this rookie class is going to be so special. And, it's a typical Quinyon answer, but it was a great one. He said, confidence. We're all confident. He said, every single one of the guys in this room, we all believe we could play in this league.
Yeah, Slay's quote about Quinyon was great.
Oh my God. Yeah. Quinyon yesterday was just like, what?
Yeah, Quinyon doesn't know what he's talking about. Quinyon's locker's essentially right next to Slay's, and Slay was saying he was asked about if Q was ready, and he said he'd been ready since he stepped out of Mama. Since he came out of Mama.
Was it the Mama or Mama? I couldn't.
I don't know.
Get
but
that
either
point.
way, you get the point. And Q's looking over. Somebody asked, Q's like, "What? What are you saying?" But anyway, yeah, Quinyon Mitchell's by far the Eagles' best rookie.
Oh, he is,
as he should be. And Will Shipley's behind Saquon Barkley and Kenny Gainwell.
Yeah,
not that Will Shipley's did. I mean, come on. I got to push back against these people.
Will did not
J-Mac, that warrants a signature. Stop it.
Yeah, exactly.
Will, by the way, Will did not vote for himself.
No, Will's a good guy. I don't expect him.
Yeah,
but my only point is he's not going to have the opportunity to be the Eagles' best rookie.
I think it was, and I asked him why Will, and just some players said, you saw him in college, right? You saw him in camp. The guy's a beast. The guy's going to make an impact this year. And I said, okay.
I don't know how. Are we expecting Saquon to get hurt?
Speaking of Saquon, Jeff, what do you think he's going to do to do on Friday night? I mean, you got Eric Wilson at linebacker. Is Saquon Barkley licking his chops for a big week 1 in Philly? Are we going to be giving away a Saquon Barkley jersey after the game on Friday?
What constitutes you giving away a Saquon Barkley jersey, Zander?
So the giveaway on JAKIB Sports, Jeff, that exists all season long for anybody in the chat. Every time Saquon Barkley eclipses 125 all-purpose yards, rushing
yards
and
from
receiving,
scrimmage,
yards from scrimmage.
Yeah, I was going to say all-purpose yards. That's
he's not returning kicks.
No,
but any yards that Saquon gets, if he does return a kick, I'm counting it. All right, so
all right,
yards
then it is all-purpose. Then it is all-purpose.
Anytime he eclipses that, we'll give away a jersey to one of our channel members. So will we be giving away a jersey come Monday morning?
I think we're going to see, and this is all year, I think we're going to see a lot of Saquon Barkley in the passing game. And I think Friday's an opportunity to kind of unleash him. But I think they're going to limit his touches earlier in the year.
Unleash the Kraken. I'm going to go. He gets 85 rushing, 33 receiving.
So just short, huh?
Just short.
As long as they win, no one's going to care, right?
John, you have him, what, 7 yards short? Is that where you have him?
I don't know.
No, he's got him 7. Exactly 7 on the dot.
7 yards short, right, of 125?
Yep. He has him at 118.
Man.
Unless he surprisingly returns a kick that we didn't see this week.
I'm making a prediction. JAKIB Sports, I will be ordering a Saquon jersey next week to give away to one of our channel members. That's my prediction. I think it's a Saquon feast day in week 1 here.
I don't know.
I think there's a feast day, but I don't think it's going to be Saquon.
Okay. I don't know,
well,
man.
that's
Eric
the problem.
Wilson, you just said they're going to use Saquon in the passing game. What's Eric
Well,
Wilson?
they are, but there's also one ball, and there's A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Jahan Dotson.
Well,
Dallas
A.J.
Goedert.
Brown's got who? Jair Alexander probably on them all. No, I'm not saying A.J.'s not going to get his fair share of yards.
With motion, though, that could change.
That's true. Kellen Moore's adding that element to the offense. It's going to be interesting, man. I'm excited, though. What do you think Saquon does, though, this game, Jeff? You think he has a big game?
I think he'll make an impact. I think you're going to see a big run or two. Look, and I tell people this all the time. You got to remember with running backs, they'll say, well, they only averaged this yards per carry. If you take away this run, I'm like, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm a bowler. If you have a big game, it affects your average, right? Like, I think we could see Saquon Barkley have a 30-yard run in this game. DeAndre Swift did that last year. And I think we could see a big play out of Saquon Barkley at some point in this game.
Keep in mind, he's the new shiny toy, and the Eagles like to play into their fan base a little bit.
They got a lot of new shiny toys.
Yeah, I know, but Saquon
they like to
selling jerseys and all that.
The Eagles are trying to get more Penn State people to like their football team. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, well, it's working with Jeff Kerr. I'll tell you that.
Well, for years, like the only Penn State guy that pretty much played for the Eagles was out of the league after like a year and a half, and that was Tony Hunt.
Yeah, Tony Hunt didn't work out.
Andy Reid tried to make him a fullback, and I'd never seen a guy just get annihilated by DeMarcus Ware and get Donovan McNabb killed as quick as Tony Hunt did.
Yeah, well, sometimes they don't all work. All plans don't all well, and that's it's interesting to me because the Packers, I think, made a mistake going with Josh Jacobs, and I think a lot of people look at Josh Jacobs and look at his 2022 season where Las Vegas just beat him into the ground,
and he was terrible last year.
And all of a sudden, can he have a bounce back season? I don't know. But, he's got, let me look it up. He's got about 1,500 touches in the NFL. He had.
I don't understand why Aaron Jones is still not a Packer.
I don't get that. That is crazy to me. Well, it's not crazy from the standpoint he's hurt a lot. So maybe they just got sick of that. But for how they play offense, he was the perfect fit. And I think you saw it in the playoffs last year when he single-handedly beat the Cowboys.
They're kind of one-dimensional now with him and Marshawn Lloyd.
He's not nearly the receiver.
Yeah, no, they had a good duo with Aaron and AJ Dillon. That was a good combination.
Yeah, AJ Dillon's hurt, by the way.
Yeah,
so you don't.
So was Marshawn Lloyd. He might not play on Friday.
Yeah.
Well, you want him to play because he's going to fumble.
Aaron's where now? Aaron's in Minnesota with the Vikings.
That was a huge move for the Vikings. Shame what happened with them with JJ McCarthy because the Vikings were one of my sleeper teams until.
Yeah, they have a lot of skill. They have a lot of skill position talent, but they have no quarterbacks. So, that kind of.
Yeah, I don't know what the Packers cap situation is, but they did give $17 million to Xavier McKinney.
About the injury. And he's going to turn 30, the typical running back stuff. Jacobs is only 26.
What kind of contract did Aaron Jones end up getting?
He got what?
Like $8 million?
Yeah, he got $8 million from the Vikings.
Plus incentives. I'd argue the Eagles should have got Aaron Jones. If you want somebody in the passing game, that's what the Eagles claim.
Well, you remember Aaron Jones was cut after they got Saquon.
Yeah, they made their decision and they were going in that direction. But I'm just saying, if the passing game, because they focus on the passing game, look, Aaron Jones is what people think Saquon Barkley is in the passing game. That's a guy who gets downfield, catches the football really well.
He's a good downhill runner too.
And he's a good runner. Yeah, but he is hurt a lot and he's older. So I get it from that perspective. But getting back to my Jacobs point, he's only 26. And obviously, the Packers think he can have a bounce back year. But a lot of people have no problem saying, well, that's a descending player. Whereas, Saquon's got that many touches. He's a little bit older. And everybody in Philadelphia seemed to say that's not a problem.
The Raiders said he's a descending player. They tagged him and said, you're not worth it. You were not worth what you got paid last year. And they're going with Samir White right now. The Raiders are in a rebuild. By the way, John, do we think Broderick Young plays on Friday?
I don't know.
He don't know either. He said, look, I'm just knee deep in the playbook.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, a lot of guys, and I bring Jahan Dotson up here. It's, you're going to have a limited part of the package for Jahan Dotson. There's no way he could be up to speed to the point where I now think it's interesting. The Eagles have 2 elevations from the practice squad, and one of them is going to be Nick Gates.
I think Paris Campbell's the other.
Yeah, I think the other might be Paris Campbell. I was thinking it was going to be Jack Stoll, but Jack Stoll's hurt now.
Yeah, he was the only one that didn't practice yesterday, right? To our knowledge.
Well, Caden Stearns. But
I'm kind of Caden Stearns also has a locker in the middle of the locker room. So.
Well, he's on the practice squad, but Caden did say he's going to be back by week 5, so week 6 for the Eagles because they have their bye week. So,
right around when Sidney Brown said he's coming back.
Yeah, Sidney said he's coming back. Sidney could play right now. I'm convinced.
He's
just
sprinting.
Cautious.
He's sprinting right now.
Yeah. I had video of that. I gotta remind me to post that. Yeah, he's Sidney Brown looks 100%, but they're just being cautious. Yeah. So the Jacobs, though, I think that's a descending player. I think that's a mistake. I think that's a mistake. But Aaron Jones is, and I'm looking it up. He's 30. He's going to turn 30 in December.
Yeah, he's going to be 30 this year. I think that was why the Packers moved on.
He's got 18 receiving touchdowns.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, he is a great receiver if he's got anything left. But he is hurt a lot, so I get it from that perspective. But you're talking about a guy who averages 5 yards a carry, Aaron Jones. 5 yards a carry.
He's in the Nick Chubb territory. Nick Chubb averages 5 a carry. 45
rushing touchdowns, and then on top of it, 18 passing touchdowns. I mean, the problem is, though, he was hurt in 2021. He was hurt in 2023. He was hurt in 2018. So he's hurt a lot. But, man, when he's out there, he is tough to deal with.
He's a good – but by the way, John, I don't know if you were with me when I was talking to Byron Young. Ed Krause was with me, and he had some really good quotes about the Raiders and how that –
Oh, what a disaster that organization.
What a process that was. He said they didn't even tell him to bring his playbook. He said they just kind of got rid of him. And he said he was, and I phrased it where, were you blindsided by it? He goes, that's the word. I was blindsided. Never expected it. So
I wonder if the Raiders even have iPads, if they're telling people to bring their playbooks. But,
yeah, exactly.
You would think they want the iPad back.
But man, I've never seen a guy who said so very little, but said so much. Like, he goes, I'm so determined to prove them wrong. Like, I want to be here, like, and just show them. You made a mistake, and it was great. It was, he's fired up. He said, I'm here to help Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter. I'm here to help these guys. Like, he loved Vic Fangio, loves the opportunity. But his agent, by the way, is Jalen Hurts' agent.
Yeah, Nicole Lynn.
Yeah, he said Nicole did a great job getting him set up here.
Yeah, well, he's an Alabama guy, So
Yeah.
I think Nicole might be Zander's agent. Who
Yeah,
knows?
She might be
she
Xander.
does have a slew of. I think she's
Yeah,
got Quinn Williams. She's got a bunch of Alabama guys. Jeff, if you're Vic Fangio and you look at Jordan Love and you're watching his tape, he had 41-59 through the air last year, 32 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, and a 96 rating. That's in his first year starting. What's your plan to slow this guy down this week?
Sorry, Zane, you broke out. Jordan? You're saying Jordan
Yeah,
Love,
Jordan
right?
Love. Yep.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I feel like you got to get pressure up the middle. That's what I personally feel. And look, what Jordan Love did in the postseason last year and at the end of last year, I mean, you could argue he was the best quarterback in football at the end of last year. That's how good he was.
He's a good player, man.
He's
got
a really good
talent. Yeah.
He's a really good player. He's got, and you're right, there's a lot of talent around him. But I feel like a lot of young quarterbacks, and we learned this with Jalen last year, if you can send consistent pressure up the middle, I don't care how good you are, it's up to you to figure it out. And can Jordan Love, we know he can run outside the pocket. He's great at throwing outside the pocket, but can he handle a Jalen Carter coming up? Or, if Bryce Huff ever gets his act together, can he handle Bryce Huff coming off the edge? Josh Sweat's going to be feasting on Friday. So that's what I'm curious about. And I think that is the best way to kind of stop him in this offense.
Yeah, and I'm hoping he thinks he's got everything figured out, because that's the quickest way to get a downturn from a young quarterback, which I think you've seen it pretty consistently. When guys have a little bit of success, and really that's what happened to the Eagles. It's like, all right, well, let's just do what we've been doing. But, the adjustments may come slowly, but they come, and you got to be ready for them. And let's see if Jordan Love's going to be ready for him, because Vic Fangio is going to throw some stuff at him that he hasn't seen before. And yeah, we're going to see.
That, by the way, I know you and I have talked about this, John. I don't feel like it's talked about enough around the league. That was one of the sneaky good hires this offseason, Vic Fangio.
Well, I don't know if it was sneaky. Everybody knew
around the league. Well, I mean, it's funny though when you talk to a lot of people, even people in the know. I even had one former NFL player say, "Oh yeah, that's right, they got Vic Fangio."
Yeah, I mean, Vic's good. Vic's a good coach. There's no debate about that. It's just a matter of how good he can get this particular group from where they were last year. And it's a low bar, so it's going to be better. But how much better? And I think it starts with the Quinyon Mitchell this week, and we'll see. I mean, he's very confident in Quinyon Mitchell, to the point it's like, because he's got a little bit of Jim Schwartz in him, that because I even asked him about Jalen Carter yesterday, and like everybody knows how talented Jalen Carter is. It's freaking obvious. And he's still, I'm trying to pull it up. He said, I think we'll get a better barometer of that after the game. I asked him, where he is, what stage, where you want him. And he said, I think played 3 plays in the opening preseason game. Practice is practice. I think I'll be better able to answer that in a couple weeks.
He knows.
He does know, but I'm trying to use that as he plays it cautious with everybody. Jim used to say, I don't give out gold stars, for doing your job. And he went about it that way. With Vic, it's about, if he doesn't give you the backhanded compliment, you're doing well. But then he was asked about Quinyon, about being on the field every play. Is he ready to handle that kind of responsibility? And he said yes to being on the field every play. And yes, he's able to handle that kind of responsibility. No couching, no nothing.
Yeah. Yes, and yes.
Martin
asked him that. Martin asked him that, right?
Yes. Martin asked him that. My point is, he's couching with the most talented guy he's got, Jalen Carter. But with Quinyon Mitchell, it's like, nope, no couching whatsoever. He's ready.
And you know what? I think Quinyon's ready just from hearing him yesterday. When he was asked about getting challenged by the Packers, he said, look, as long as I'm in position, we're good.
Yeah, but boy, they got a boatload of playmakers, Jeff.
Which one?
Christian Watson is the best. He's always hurt, but he's not hurt
The
now.
most
So he's going to
reliable.
be out there.
The most reliable is Romeo Dobbs.
Romeo Dobbs is great. Jaden Reed is great. Dontavian Wicks.
Jaden Reed's the guy that's going to piss off a lot of Eagles fans on Friday night, I feel.
Bo Melton, even if you get down to Bo Melton, he made plays last year.
Bo
He's
Melton's
a Rutgers
good
guy. Isn't he a Rutgers guy?
Yeah, he's a Rutgers guy. That's Max Melton's. Is it his brother or his cousin? They're related.
They are just, and they're not big names like AJ and Devontae, but they are just boatload of playmakers.
Luke Musgrave's a really good tight end. Tucker Crafts was a good tight end. Luke Musgrave is out. Like, it's funny. We talk about all this, and then see, here's why the Eagles get a lot of hype, a lot of deserved hype for their offense, because everybody knows their offensive line's good. I don't know if Green Bay's is good. In fact, I don't think they're good at all.
No, I agree. That's their weakness. Rashid, by the way, how can Andre Dillard not win that left tackle job?
Because he stinks. I know why. He stinks. He was the worst offensive tackle in football last year.
Fair enough.
And the
poor
Titans,
Andre Dillard.
But by the way, that's why I'm not as high on the 49ers. Unless Trent Williams came back in the last hour, he probably
did. He came back in the last hour.
Yeah. Breaking news: Trent Williams is reporting to the deal is not finalized, but he's on his way back to San Francisco.
Wow, big surprise there. Yeah, he didn't want to go.
I feel a lot better about the 49ers now with him and Colton McKevins. But still,
that means just one player, guys, remains on holdout right now in the NFL. None other than Hassan Reddick.
And he ain't coming back.
Well, what's he gonna do? Is he just gonna sit out the season?
He might.
Yeah, I don't know what.
What does that get him? Do they have to pay him if he sits out like that?
No.
So he's just going to forgo a year. A
He's
30-year-old player is going to forgo a year of playing over $5 million. I'd take the 14, but I don't know. I don't know what's going on in Hassan's head.
Well, I never would take less than what I deserve. Let's just put it that way.
I'm surprised he's not back. I mean,
Jeff, you're going to sacrifice 14-5 with no other team in the league willing to give you what you want?
When I'm better than the guy making 23-24, yes.
Yeah, but that's not how the cookie crumbles sometimes, Jeff.
That is how the cookie crumbles. That's everybody else gets
Josh
paid.
Allen's like the 10th highest paid quarterback right now in the league. You don't see him bitching.
I get why
quarterbacks
Hassan
are different
Reddick,
animals.
I get why Hassan Reddick has a chip on his shoulder, but because he has produced more than just about anybody. With the exception of Myles Garrett.
I'm telling you, if I, as someone who, again, this is a position I played, I know they don't value it like they should, but it would piss me off if I saw Bryce Huff making more money than me. It just would. He hasn't.
Yeah, but you can make $22 million if you get your deal, which he's not getting. You can make $14.5 million, or you can make zero. You're telling me you'd choose zero?
If you're financially secure, you take zero.
I wouldn't.
And by the way, the Eagles would never have expected Hassan Reddick to play for less money than Bryce Huff. They knew that they were going to have to adjust Hassan's contract if he was going to come back, and they were going to put him above Bryce Huff, but they didn't want to go to the $25 million range.
It was kind of funny last week because I was defending Brandon Ayuk to the death, especially when John Lynch made the stupidest comment I ever heard a GM make. At some point, you got to play. Well, no, John, at some point, you got to pay. This guy's a 25-year-old.
I mean, it's very difficult for most people to walk away, even if you feel disrespected, to walk away from $14 million. But
it just felt like that was coming to a head at some point, and the Eagles just didn't want to deal with it.
Yeah, they got the hell out because they knew what was coming.
Yeah,
they knew what was coming.
Did. And you know what, Hassan?
But the Eagles would have been willing to go to 18-19.
Oh, and you know what? Honestly, John, he might have taken that because it was here. But he's not here anymore. It's not his hometown team.
Yeah, the Eagles went, hey, whoever wants it first, They wanted to rework Josh Sweat's deal. They would have reworked Hassan's deal. Whoever takes it first was going to stay, and the other one was going to go.
Hassan Reddick retweets a lot of my stats about him. There's a reason for it.
No, that's why Jeff Kerr is vouching. Look, I like the player. I see what you're saying. I'm just saying I wouldn't forgo a season as a 30-year-old edge rusher who's getting into that scary number in the NFL.
And you're right, Zander. That's why he's not paid. He's 30. That's the only reason why.
Well,
Right,
and I
and
got
that's the
news.
problem. Like,
If you want to give Hassan some advice, if he's going to sit out a year and thinks he's coming back and getting more money, he's
Right.
nuts.
No, ask Le'Veon Bell.
That's playing into my projection of I would play if I were Hassan. Jeff, because I don't think he's coming back and making up that lost money.
See,
with a new deal.
This is my personal opinion. This is why I think he's holding out, because I think he knows the Jets are a shit show and they're going to cave when they suck and they realize
think the Jets are a legit Super Bowl.
Oh, I think they are too, but we
team.
both know how this can go, John. If they
Aaron
start
Rodgers gets hurt again, they're screwed.
Well, if they start out slow and they can't get to the quarterback, that phone call's coming.
Boy, I know a bunch of Jets fans, and boy, they're a long-suffering fan base. But Jody's a big Jets fan.
John,
but,
is this a bold prediction because it's never happened? But my bold prediction is the Lions represent the Super Bowl in the NFC.
Oh no, I don't think it's bold at all.
But they never done it. That's the thing. There's a
They're a
team
good
in there.
team, though. They're a good team.
Yeah, they're a really good team.
They're a very good team.
But
I don't want to pick. I haven't picked a Super Bowl. I got to do that at some point before this starts. I don't want to pick Kansas City. I'm thinking about picking the New York Jets. I'm seriously thinking about it.
That's bold too, but it's a legit pick.
I'm going Super Bowl 22 rematch. Eagles, Chiefs, Super Bowl contenders.
If I see the Chiefs again, I'm gonna throw up.
I can't pick against them. Every year I pick against.
Well, I don't blame you. But
when he starts off slow last year, I'm like, oh yeah, the Chiefs don't have it this year, and then all of a sudden they're in the Super Bowl.
I get why you're doing it, but I just still want to see it. But I look at that. This is without Hassan Reddick. Without Hassan Reddick, they have Jermaine Johnson and Quentin Williams. And
Quincy Williams.
and Quincy Williams and C.J. Mosley, the best linebacker duo.
By the way, Sauce Gardner's there.
Sauce Gardner, DJ Reed's great. They got a good nickel corner and Michael. They're loaded on defense.
Can I put in my Penn State plug? Olu Foshnu is really, really good already.
Yeah, put in the Penn State plug. Well, who knows? Will McDonald didn't do anything, but maybe he takes off. Obviously, if they get Reddick back, and then watch out for Garrett Wilson if Aaron Rodgers is healthy, man.
Yeah, and Breece Hall.
John, you make a good point. That Jets team can be really good. Breece Hall, right?
Braden Allen was a really good pick. They had a good draft. They got Malachi Corley in that draft. They had some players.
Yeah, and remember they got Tyron Smith, aging but still a top tier.
They got is John Simpson there or is it Morgan Moses?
Tippmann's there. They got Barrett Tucker back from injury. Morgan Moses is there as well.
That's right. Morgan Moses is the Ravens player. John Simpson went to the Rams, I think.
Oh, I thought you said Tippmann. Tippmann's there.
No. Yeah, I was thinking for some reason John Simpson went to the Jets. I'm like, no, I don't think that's right. But yeah, I know Morgan Moses went there.
They got good tight ends, Conklin, Rucker. They're loaded, man. They are loaded. If that old man can stay up,
quick. I'm going to ask you to do it, Jeff. We're not talking. I mean, I know it's Tuesday. You have the right to change your prediction. Follow Jeff, everybody. At Jeff
I'll probably change it tonight, by the way, when I do my show. So
you're here on Birds 365 at 9:15 a.m. Eastern time on Tuesday, September 3rd. What's your prediction for Friday night's Eagles-Packers game in Sao Paulo, Brazil?
When I did the schedule in May, I said the Eagles were going to lose. But I'm with John. I kind of see Eric Wilson. I see the Packers offensive line, and I'm just
Eric.
like, I'm just
good
like,
guy too. Good guy.
Yeah, I was just like, look, the Packers are good, but are we overhyping them a bit? Like, if this game was in Philly, I honestly think the Eagles will win by 10 points.
If this game were in Philly, I'd pick the Eagles pretty easily.
Yeah, I really don't know, Zander, because of this Brazil thing. It's the first ever game that you're opening a season in another country. I think it's going to be. I don't even think it's going to be who starts out the fastest. I think it's going to be who kind of
an all-day sucker. As
the winner of the
Fangio
turnover
said.
batter will win the game is what my projection would be.
Well, I can predict that every week.
Yeah, right. You can. That's true. But I mean, to your point about being on the road, it's week 1. Nobody's cylinders are firing. Nobody's firing on all cylinders yet. I think that's going to be even more important than it always is when teams are firing. It's going to be a good game. But Jeff, you got to get on the. You don't have to give me a score. Who's going to win the ball game?
I see Eric Wilson in the middle of the field. I see Packers offensive line. I think I kind of gave you who I think's going to be.
You got the Eagles then.
Yeah, it better be Nakobe Dean in the middle of the field for the Eagles defense.
Yeah, is that confirmed yet, John? Do we know?
No. Otherwise, you got your own Eric Wilson to worry about. But here's what Bick said. They're really tough to defend. They run it and throw it equally well. And you throw in an athletic quarterback, and it'll be an all-day sucker for the Eagles defense. It's a tough offense to deal with.
I'll say this, Zander. I'm not a betting man, but take the over, whatever the point spread is.
Yeah, I like that bet. Go on betus.com.pa, everybody, and take that bet. I'm with Jeff Kerr on that one. Jeff, thanks for joining the show, man. Great, as always, being here. NFL is here, baby. No more projection, no more off-season talk. We are officially in the run of the season, Jeff. Thanks for joining the show today, man.
Yeah, no problem, Zander. By the way, before I go, based on our CBS Sports expert, I think the Eagles are underrated because a lot of people are just not.
What was the CBS Sports rating?
So when we did the composite, the Eagles came in 3rd, but 5 people picked the Eagles as overrated, and I'm like, well, no, you're just not seeing what I'm seeing.
Well, they're looking at the coaching and all that.
That's what it is, yeah. But overall, I think they all admit the Eagles are really talented.
Yeah. Yeah, they are. No doubt about that. And for you, little inside baseball, they moved Nick Sirianni, if you didn't get the text, up to 11:35 if you're going down there.
I will not be there today. So,
right.
Yeah, I heard they were moving up yesterday.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, buddy. At Jeff Kerr CBS, make sure you follow Jeff on the X platform, which you can still do in this country, at least for the time being, unlike Brazil. And read them at cbssports.com.
That's going to be my story, my game preview. Will Martin Frank come home?
Yeah. You might have to negotiate that.
Okay, yeah. All right, Jeff. Thanks for joining, man. Great stuff as always. We'll talk to you next week after week 1, man. Going to be a fun weekend of games. Looking forward to it. We'll talk to you next week. All right, Jeff.
Yeah, it's a great slate this week. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of Eagles fans will be watching Cowboys Browns and Lions Rams on Sunday night.
Cowboys Browns. Yeah, that's a national game, right?
That's my upset of the week. I don't even think it's an upset.
Okay, I was about to ask you. I didn't want to do that. We've said goodbye. I don't want to. But is that your upset of the week, Browns?
That's my upset of the. I don't even call it an upset, but I think the Browns are going to beat them.
I don't know, man. I'm out on the whole Deshaun Watson thing, and
it's not even Deshaun Watson. They won in spite of Deshaun Watson last year.
Yeah, they need Joe Flacco back.
They got like 4 quarters. Oh no, I'm sorry. They got 3 now. They cut Tyler Huntley.
Yeah, which, by the way, back to Baltimore. Perfect situation for Baltimore. That was the worst.
All you did was complain during the preseason game.
I couldn't believe it. I could not believe the ball. I said you cannot go into a season with this backup quarterback situation.
And they were right.
Josh Johnson.
Now they got a Pro Bowler backing them up again.
Yeah. So worked out well for the Ravens.
All right, Jeff. Good stuff, man. We'll talk to you next week.
See you guys.
See you, bud.
There's Jeff Kerr joining us on Birds 365. Good stuff from Jeff Kerr. Good insight today. Good preview of the Eagles versus Packers coming up in 3 days, everybody. The season is officially here. I want to welcome and thank everybody for being here. Big crowd here, Johnny Mac. You can tell the season is here, man. 750 people watching across our platforms, over 550 on YouTube. Make sure you guys smash that like button as it's the best thing you can do to help the show grow and reach more Eagles fans this football season. Reminder to everybody in the chat, that pinned comment at the top We're going to be giving away Saquon Barkley jerseys all season long to our channel members. Every time he eclipses that 125 mark, we will give away a jersey to one channel member. So you must be a member to win. That link is in the description. It's $5 a month to join. So if you do it for the full season, it's 5 months. That's $25. It supports the channel, and you have a chance to win a Saquon Barkley jersey every week. And it does go a long way in helping support our channel, as I mentioned. So we'll take a quick commercial break here. Come back, and me and Johnny Mac have an open 40 minutes. I have a couple super chats, John, that I want to hit with you, and then we'll continue to preview and dive into this upcoming game here just 3 days away on Friday night. So are you looking for a new sports book this football season? Eagles fans, BetUS is the answer, and JAKIB Sports is proud to announce our new football partnership for the upcoming season. Right now, receive a 125% sign-up bonus, up to $2,000 on your first 3 deposits. If it's good for Michael Vick, it's definitely good for JAKIB Sports. So go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. The link is in the description. So if you click the link, click that description below the video here on YouTube, you'll see the link there to go to BetUS. So go to betus.com.pa and sign up today. We're going to be taking those Saquon bets. I'll be back in 3 minutes, everybody.
Michael Vick at betus.com. Catch an incredible 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits, plus 10% gambler's insurance. BetUS, my online sports book and casino.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
He's blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on Sports Grid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on Sports Grid.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
as long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood day.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
Imagine for a moment that you went to work today, and when you came home, you were catastrophically injured. Your life and your family's life. That's what happened to union construction worker Mike Little.
I was scared of what the end was going to be, but to be 100% honest with you, I knew I was going to be all right just by talking with Brian. In my heart, I just knew everything was going to be all right.
Call the firm and find out why they say, "We got this." Call 215-458-2222.
Michael Vick at betus.com. Catch an incredible 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits, plus 10% gambler's insurance. BetUS, my online sports book and casino.
EAGLES. Eagles.
Welcome back in, everybody, to a Tuesday edition of Birds 365. Just 3 days out now from the season opener. They moved some stuff up today. John, what is the schedule today? I know you're heading out of here quickly after the show, so we will wrap at 9:59 on the dot, so you can get down there. But what is the schedule today as this team prepares to go to Sao Paulo and take on the Packers?
Yeah, today's the last day. They're leaving for Brazil tomorrow. Nick Sirianni's talking at 11:30ish. Practices at 12:30. Locker room is open after practice at about 1:50, 2 o'clock. So big day, last day. Eagles will be in Philadelphia. Then they'll go to Brazil tomorrow. They're going to have a walkthrough at the stadium on Thursday. And obviously the game is on Friday night.
So they're heading down there tomorrow, right? So I think it's a 10 or 11-hour flight, right?
Yeah, nine and a half hours by most estimation. So a lot of they're going to have 2 meals instead of one. A lot of hydration. Only so much you can do. They chartered a bigger plane, so they have more room. But yeah, it's a pain in the ass. Unless
flag as much as possible.
Unless you're Jordan Mailata. They're telling everybody to stay awake and then sleep when you get there to handle that as best as possible. Jordan says it's not a big deal because he always goes to Australia. So, yeah, it depends who you are.
Yeah, no doubt about it. John, let's continue to preview this game and discuss it. I think one of the bigger matchups here is something we haven't really talked about on the show. But AJ versus Jair Alexander, I know that it might not go like that every single play, but that's a premier receiver and a premier cornerback going head to head. What do you think of that matchup? That's kind of one of the reasons I think Saquon could have a big game. I think they have some decent corners. What do you think of that matchup with the Eagles receivers versus the cornerback?
Yeah, I don't know obviously how the Packers are going to handle it, but yeah, in general, you want to go after Eric Stokes over Jair Alexander. That's one of the cornerbacks I always tell. I love to talk to AJ about cornerbacks because he only respects the guys who can cover press cover. He's not overly enamored by guys who are good in zone and savvy in that perspective. And Alexander's one of the guys he always talks about.
He's a damn good corner, Jair Alexander.
Yeah, as being one of the best cover corners in the NFL, and he is, and he has been. And a lot of injury issues, but he's going to be out there. Eric Stokes is the weak side of it. And that's, part of the advantage the Eagles have. Because, if you do spend a lot of time trying to take AJ out of the game, you got to deal with Devontae. And now on top of that, we'll see how quickly they can get Jahan Dotson up to speed. I don't expect him knowing the entire offense, so it'll probably be a more package type thing for him. But yeah, and you're going to see a lot of zone coverage, I assume, with McKinney as well. So we'll see how they handle if they're going to put him over the top. But those two guys specifically are playmakers as well, Jair and Xavier McKinney.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Two good playmakers there in their secondary. So definitely going to be interesting to see how Kellen kind of attacks this defense. John, if you were Kellen Moore, what would be your approach to attacking this defense?
Quay Walker and Eric Wilson.
Yeah. And what does that mean for you? Does that mean heavy in the run game? Does that mean using Saquon? Does that mean Dallas Goedert game? What does that mean for you?
Well, it means attack the middle of the field, which hasn't been. I always have to correct myself, but it actually has been a strength for the Eagles from a effectiveness standpoint. They just never did it. Bottom 5 in the league as far as throwing the football over the middle of the field, but when they did do it, they were very effective doing it, and that makes sense because you have AJ and Dallas Goedert. and they're big bodies over the middle of the field. I don't know how healthy Dallas Goedert is. He's going to play. He's back from his oblique injury. Hopefully he's 100%. But yeah, I mean, it would be mainly AJ Dallas over the middle, and then Devontae Smith from the slot, because at least in the summer, the Eagles have been using Devontae a lot in the slot, which is a shift from pre-Kellen Moore to Kellen Moore. So that might be effective as well. Keyshawn Nixon, who I mentioned is a great kickoff returner, great punt returner, is also their nickelback. Better returner than nickelback, I would say. So there's some things to take advantage of in the middle of the field. As far as the running game, I think that's going to be pretty consistent for the Eagles all year. You pass to get the lead, you run to close the game. So if they're in a position to close the game, I think you're in a better position to win a Saquon Barkley jersey.
No doubt about that. So we'll see how it all shakes out there. John, from the defensive side for the Eagles, it's a tough test. I mean, I know we talked about it a little bit in the beginning, the first hour there, especially a little bit with Jeff Kerr, but this is an uphill battle here for the Eagles defense. This is a pretty good offense. I think Jordan Love is a very good quarterback. I think he's going to have another big year. We'll see, because it's his second year now. So there's some tape on him out there, as you know, if you will. But I think it's a tough test for the Eagles defense here. They're getting a good offense here coming up against them in week one. How do you think they'll handle it?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, how is Green Bay going to play it? How is Philadelphia going to respond to it? As always, Vic is pretty honest. Expects to be a nickel most of the time. For the Eagles, that means a 4-man front, 2 linebackers, and then the nickel on top of it, which will be Quinyon Mitchell moving inside, and Isaiah Rodgers playing outside, at least to start. So, I do think that the Eagles are kind of not concerned about the running game. I think they're in the camp of Josh Jacobs as a descending player, and they shouldn't need to put as much to run support and put the extra guy in coverage, which is the whole philosophy of Vic's defense anyway. And I think that's how he's coming into this game, looking at those guys up front. Not to say they won't be in the 5-man front in early downs at times, because they will be, but they're expecting to stop the running game without much help. And I think that's the whole philosophy going into the game. And by the way, the Packers also don't have AJ Dillon, who's out on injured reserve. So their backup is Marshawn Lloyd, who's a little bit banged up and has really had a lot of fumbling issues in college. So I don't think they're concerned about the running game and more worried about shutting down the passing game.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So we'll see how it all plays out. Going to be an exciting week one, John. There's a lot of good stuff on the NFL slate too this weekend, starting with a big Thursday night game just 2 days from now with the Chiefs and the Ravens. That'll be a good one because the Ravens are on the schedule this year for the Eagles. So we'll be looking at how they look this year. But pretty good NFL slate this weekend, Johnny Mac, for week one.
Yeah, I mean, well, everybody thinks they got a chance in week one. Mm-hmm. So you don't get to see who's really bad.
True. Everybody's good going into week one, right?
Carolina's going to be bad. New England's going to be bad. I think the Giants are going to be bad. I think the Giants are playing the Vikings in week one. That's the Vikings have a chance to be really bad because of the quarterback situation. That should be an interesting game from that perspective. But most everybody at Las Vegas is going to be bad. Most everybody else has got a chance to be a playoff team if things go right. So, and that's what the Eagles want.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So we'll see. John, let's go back to the Eagles Packers. The international angle is interesting. you heard a lot of players this week. Slay was the latest on the podcast. Not excited to go there at all. And then you heard Jalen speak yesterday, and it was almost like that was directly from the NFL office how excited he was to play in Brazil. But what does that change for this team? Like, what challenges do you think come with that versus playing, a regular game? It's different for both teams. So I think both teams are at a disadvantage.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the same for both teams. And that's what Nick Sirianni said. It's basically the same as anything. He brought up a rain game, and he was like, well, if you go into the game thinking it's going to affect you, the team that's going to handle it better is the team that goes into it saying, all right, we're going to handle it. And I think the same thing applies here. They both have to go to Brazil. There's no advantage. The Eagles lost the advantage, which I've said pretty consistently, that this game should be at home. And if they do lose this game, it's going to be affecting the playoff race probably in the back end of the season. But that's already, that toothpaste is out of the tube. Now it's about how you handle it. And I think Nick was exactly right. The team that's going to accepts what they're doing and is going to be the one that handles it a little bit better, and that's how the Eagles are approaching it.
Yeah, so we'll see, what ends up, how everything plays out with that. So it's going to be good stuff. What about the stadium, John? Any concern on that? Jody in our chat brings up a good point. It's a soccer stadium. Is there going to be any, are they going to have that up to NFL field standards?
Yeah, it's probably better because, we got to talk to John Ferrari, who's one of the Eagles' assistant GMs. And he was in charge of the trip and all the logistics of the trip and all that stuff. I mean, they built this stadium for the World Cup. And anybody who follows soccer, football, whatever you want to call it, depending on what part of the world you're in, FIFA demands stadiums have a certain level. And for instance, we talk about the crappy turf in MetLife Stadium. Every NFL player hates it. Well, they would never replace it. Now to get the World Cup, they're replacing it because they have to. And, this particular stadium was built for the World Cup. John said there's no issues with the turf whatsoever. So, yeah, it's probably a better standard than the typical NFL because as all these stadiums around the U.S. and with negotiating with FIFA, they all had to get up the turf, the ones that do have turf, and put on actual grass,
right?
Which is much better for the players.
Yeah, so it should be pretty good, but it will be interesting to see, the game being played in Brazil. I don't know how it will change our coverage. I think the game's only on Peacock, isn't it, or something?
No, locally, it's on Peacock nationally, and locally you still have to have that local component. So it's going to be on NBC 10 locally. But yeah, nationally Peacock. So get downloading because we have a lot of fans outside the area. So yeah, you have to get subscribe to Peacock, which is well worth it because you also get the WWE premium live events. So there you go.
Yeah, that's Johnny Mac's take. We did have somebody check in this morning from Denmark, Johnny Mac. So we got fans all over the place.
I don't know if Peacock is in Denmark.
Yeah, I don't think it is, but it might be. I'm not sure. If you're in Denmark,
I'm sure Netflix is. Netflix is everywhere.
I'm not sure how to tell you to watch it, brother. You're gonna have to do some research on your own. But John, let's get to our couple super chats. We did get a couple earlier in the show. Just 20 minutes to go here on Birds 365. Great crowd in here today. Appreciate all you guys for being here. Prince Swayze checks in, says Mitchell is like Jalen Hurts, but on the defensive side. Birds 365, best show on JAKIB. Prince, appreciate it, man. Appreciate the super chat. Appreciate your support as always. James Carver checks in, and he's talking about your question to Vic, J-Mac. We hit it earlier, but I do want to readdress it now. J-Mac, was Vic somewhat backhanded in his reply to your question yesterday, saying in your terminology 11 and 12? Did he mean wing, flex, etc.? That's not personnel, but alignments. You were right.
Yeah, I know. Well, Vic, yeah. Well, yes, he was backhanding me, which is fine. I love Vic, by the way. I love it. So my question was, my last question was, does it help that Green Bay is mainly an 11 personnel team, so there's going to be a lot of nickel? Now, I remind you, that was the last question of the press conference. I remind you earlier, Vic had said we're going to play a lot of nickel when he was talking about Thomas Booker. And then he just said they play 12 in your vernacular, which I love because that's like I'm a downstairs person. So Vic uses his own terminology, but 12 means 2 tight ends, basically. And 11 means 3 receivers. So they play 12 personnel in your vernacular and 11 about 50-50 on early downs, which is probably right. They have 2 good tight ends. And, when they do want to run the ball, they're going to have both of those on the field, perhaps on early downs. So from the standpoint of, being technically correct, yeah, Vic is, as he usually is, technically correct. But again, earlier in the same press conference, when he was talking about Booker, he basically said, as the backup nose tackle, he basically said, I'm sure we'll be playing a lot of nickel in this game too, so there will only be 2 defensive linemen, which again, in his vernacular, is interior defensive linemen in there at that time. Hopefully the flow of the game will take care of that. He's expecting to play a lot of nickel because I think he understands that the Packers are going to try to get those playmaking wide receivers against the Eagles' young defensive backs. So, yes, Vic was somewhat backhanded, but that's Vic, man. That means he likes you.
No doubt. Good stuff from Vic Fangio. He is blunt. I like listening to his press conferences. Let's go to one more super chat from James. James, another one, man. We appreciate it. $10 each. We appreciate your support of the show. James says, with everything new and in a new country/stadium to start the season, I see Saquon rushing for 90 plus. Could see 125 alone and at least 3 receptions. I think Saquon will be a workhorse for Eagles early. James, I love it. And if you're a channel member, you should love it too, because that means we could be giving away a Saquon Barkley jersey come Monday. Johnny Mac, what do you think Saquon does in this game versus the Packers?
Yeah, what'd I say? 85 and 33.
Yeah, is that where you're going?
Yeah, 85 and 30. That obviously this is, I wouldn't take that to the bank. Although if you want to, there's Bet US for you. Look, I think, yeah, if they're ahead late, yeah, he's going to be a workhorse. If they're not ahead late, you're going to have a bunch of people on. Well, we're not going to be on Saturday. We'll be on Monday. You're going to have a bunch of people complaining they didn't get Saquon Barkley the ball. Because if they're behind, they're going to obviously shift towards a heavy passing mindset. So that kind of stuff, the workhorse stuff with running backs, I've been saying it for 20 years. I'll probably say it for 20 more, hopefully. Tell me who's ahead in the 4th quarter, and I'll tell you if the guy's a workhorse.
All right. Makes a lot of sense. So if they're ahead, you think Saquon's going to have a big game to close it out?
Yeah, I mean, if they're that's the whole Eagles plan. They want to be better in the 4-minute offense, and they want to be able to run the ball when they want to run the ball. And that's more of what they want from Saquon Barkley over, say, DeAndre Swift or Miles Sanders.
What about Kenny Gainwell? You think he has a big role in this game? I mean, we've heard a lot about him looking really good through camp and through the summer. I think they're going to use him more than people are expecting this year.
Yeah, I do, for a couple reasons. One, he's good, and 2, they are cognizant of what I talked about with Josh Jacobs, and everyone seems okay because Josh Jacobs is on the other team to point out, well, that might be a declining back because of the number of touches. Well, Saquon's got more touches and he's a year older. So I think the Eagles are very cognizant of trying to keep him on a pitch count to get him through the season. I don't think they're going to just come out and ride him into the ground like the Raiders did 2 years ago with Jacobs.
John, let's wrap up the off season here. It's now Tuesday, September 3rd. We're 3 days away from the season starting. Is this team in the position to do the things they want to do this football season? Did they close out the season or the off season strong, in your opinion?
Well, I think they had a good camp. I think there's a lot of excitement. A very talented team. I do think there's some depth issues that maybe people are not aware of yet, that if they crop up and you get the wrong injury at the wrong situation, you could have some problems. But that's everybody in the NFL. The starters, the 22 starters, are extremely gifted from a talent standpoint. But I do think the setup is weird. I think it was always weird. I've said it from day one. It remains weird. And I got to see how it develops before. One thing I know about covering the NFL for many years, things don't go as expected. Sometimes that's good. A lot of times that's bad. So for all the projections and there's a bunch of stuff that's coming down the turnpike that is going to make you have to handle adversity, adjust, whatever word you want to use. You hope it's not crazy, like your rookie receiver getting shot in a robbery. That's god awful in San Francisco.
Crazy, yep.
And that's an extreme example, but stuff crops up all the time in the NFL, and it's how you handle it.
And I think the Eagles overall have done a good job at handling any of their adversity. Some of it was self-created with some comments from the quarterback and some of the other stuff, but overall, I think they had a pretty smooth off season. I think they retooled the roster pretty well. But that defense, John, that's going to be the big question coming into the year. That's the big question, obviously, for the Eagles. Many people project the Eagles to go far because the defense is going to be better than they're expecting. And some are projecting the Eagles to win 8 or 9 games because the defense is just not going to be good. I don't know where you fall on that. I think they're going to be around middle of the pack, and it won't hinder them too much. But that's the big hole. That's the big question on the Eagles.
I think I know what the defense is more than the offense. I think the defense is going to be middle of the road, much improved over last season, good enough to win with. The offense is it going to be like last year? Is it going to be one of the top offenses in football? And I think that's where the shift happens. Obviously, if they're some people think they have a chance to be one of the greatest offenses of all time. I would pump the brakes on that. Can they be a top 5 offense? If they're a top 5 offense, you're probably talking about 12, 13 wins. If it's more like last year, bottom of the top 10, you're probably down in the 10, 11 win category. And if it's somehow even worse than that because of injury, then you start talking about 8, 9 wins, things of that nature.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So we'll see what they end up doing here with the season. It's now officially upon us, everybody. 3 days out. We're going to get to one more commercial break here, and then we'll come back and wrap up the show. Johnny Mac has to get out of here quick as the Eagles moved things up today down at NovaCare Complex. John, last practice for them today, right before they depart for Brazil.
Yep, last practice. They are off to Brazil tomorrow. Sao Paulo.
They fly out.
21 million people in the area.
What's the time zone there? It's close, right, to us?
Yeah, I think it's.
Is it central?
I think it's an hour behind.
So that
but
would
I'm
be
not.
like a good one
I'll look that up in the break.
All right, sounds good. So we'll get the answer on that for you. Appreciate everybody being here. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Big crowd in here today. We appreciate you all being here. Hopefully you'll be with us all season long as we'll be covering this football team up close and personal extensively throughout the football season. So thanks for being here today. Hit that like button. Birds 365 will be back in 3 minutes.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
Blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on Sports Grid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on Sports Grid.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
as long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood day.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
Imagine for a moment that you went to work today and when you came home, you were catastrophically injured. Your life and your family's life. That's what happened to union construction worker Mike Little.
I was scared of what the end was going to be, but to be 100% honest with you, I knew I was going to be all right just by talking with Brian. In my heart, I just knew everything was going to be all right.
Call the firm and find out why they say, "We got this." Call 215-458-2222.
Michael Vick at BetUS.com. Catch an incredible 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits, plus 10% gambler's insurance. BetUS, my online sportsbook and casino.
EAGLES. Eagles.
Welcome back in, everybody, to Tuesday's edition of Birds 365. It's game week, everybody, just 3 days out from the Eagles taking on the Green Bay Packers in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Johnny Mac, what's your final thoughts on today's Tuesday edition? It was Labor Day weekend, so we were off on Monday, back here on Birds 365, and that's it for the holidays. So we'll be a straight shot now for the end of the year for us. But what's your final thoughts on today, man, as we prepare for this game?
Well, my final thoughts is it's 10:54 in Brazil, so they're an hour and ahead. So I think they're on the same time as
They're going to be. So are you telling me they're going to start that game 9:15 p.m.?
Yeah. I think it has to do with daylight savings time. Otherwise, because we're off schedule because of that wacky rule that should have been.
That's still a late game for them. I know they're. I mean, I'm sure they'll sleep in or they'll adjust their clocks, but that's a late local game for them. I mean, it's 8:15 here, so if they're an hour and ahead, it's going to be 9:15 when they kick off.
Yeah. Which, by the way, the last shuttle bus for the media is at 2 a.m. So, yeah, nobody's going to get to do any work.
Yeah, it might be. That's a tight squeeze.
At the stadium. But anyway, yeah. Luckily, I don't have to deal with that. But
Johnny Mack will be safe in South Jersey, so no worries about Johnny Mack.
Well, I am upset at missing the game, but not the other stuff. But so they're an hour ahead. So it's not that bad from if you think about a West Coast, a body clock game, where there's a 3-hour time difference. It's not quite as bad from that perspective. I think the traveling part is mainly the long flight. And there's certain guys, look, long flights aren't fun. But NFL players have it better. It's not, they're flying commercial from the standpoint of they have to go through customs and all that kind of stuff, but bigger plane, more room, all that kind of stuff. And they have, stressed hydration. They stress, don't go to sleep on the plane, wait till you get there. So they got all the sports science guys giving them all the advice possible.
That's good that they have that. Obviously, they are an NFL organization, so they have everything there. Johnny Mack, good show today, man. Any closing thoughts as we prep for this game? I know we just kind of got the time zone done there, but any closing thoughts just on the game and what the Eagles have done to prepare through the offseason for this point, which has now arrived?
Yeah, uncertainty. That was a lot of talk and particularly more on, as I said, Eagles offense versus Packers defense, because that's where most of the change is versus everybody knows sort of Vic and what he does in this league. And, the Green Bay offense and Matt LaFleur is very well known in their success over the past number of years. But Kellen Moore is obviously new to Philadelphia, is shifting things from the motion standpoint, the bunch formations, all that kind of stuff, and completely new defensive scheme from Green Bay. So, but Kellen spoke yesterday, said in football in general, certainly in the NFL, when you're facing an opponent that has a lot of unknown, whether personnel or scheme, ours is very focused on scheme. You draw awareness, different dots you can connect with, whether it be coaches, players, all the different circumstances. So basically happens every year. Going to get a lot of unscouted looks in week one. And the team that handles them better is probably going to win the game.
No doubt about it. Johnny Mack, good show today, man. I want to thank everybody for being here today in our chat. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Thanks to Jeff Kerr for checking in and giving us his insight as we prepare for this NFL week, man. NFL week is here. The NFL is officially here. Football is here. I'm sure a bunch of you watched college football over the last weekend. Our local Penn State.
If you did, you saw blowouts, because every stinking college game was a blowout except the night game. Texas A&M and Notre Dame was kind of close. Everything else, blowout.
I didn't catch all the college games, but I did catch some of them. My Alabama won handedly versus Western Kentucky. I think they played. So, Johnny Mack, good show today, man. Get down there to the NovaCare Complex. We'll talk to you tomorrow on Birds 365. All right, man.
All right. Thanks everybody for listening.
All right. Thanks everybody. We'll see you next time tomorrow morning on Birds 365.
You've been listening to Birds 365, the destination for the passionate Eagles football fan who bleeds green. If it's Eagles football, we're talking about it. Debate, inside the locker room, and guests that are some of the greatest football minds from around the region. We hope you enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at JAKIB Sports. See you next time on Birds 365.